Okay, we made it. Hello, everyone. So, welcome to the French Elegance of Bodies Zoom call. So, I've done a few of these calls because several months ago, something really amazing happened to me with regards to becoming extremely aware of how every single molecule in the universe is communicating to us all the time. And I don't mean just people. I don't mean just entities and spirits. I don't mean even in the earth. I'm talking about even inanimate objects like your chair, your house, the walls in your house, the floors in your house, your car, your sofa, your bed. And what had happened was I was driving basically in Dane, Dr. Dane here, co-creator of Access Consciousness. I was driving in his Ferrari. And I always had the point of view most of my life until recently that it wasn't necessary for me to have the finer things in life. They'd be too much to manage. You always have to worry about when something would get dirty or when it would break, and then you have to invest all this money. And I used to have this point of view, even if I was a billionaire, I still would live a moderate lifestyle. I don't have that point of view anymore, and I'll tell you why in a minute. But I used to have that point of view for many, 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 many years. So as I'm driving in Dane's Ferrari, I became aware of how the car was contributing to him in his life, in his being. And then I noticed how the stitching in the seats of the car, the colors that he picked, I mean, all the way down to the tiny little stitching in the steering wheel and in the seats, and how that actually contributed to him in a way, so much so that it was speaking to him. And I watched how it actually facilitated him to that match the energy that he actually delivers when he does his SOP or the ESB or in the Maestro classes. And I went, whoa. I was like, whoa. Because I think dressing nice is very important, but I would say, I'll save money on my underwear. I won't invest in expensive underwear, right? Because nobody sees it unless I happen to be having a lover. Then they may see my underwear, but hopefully it doesn't stay on very long. So I take it off. They don't see the underwear very long. So what's the point of having expensive underwear? Well, I became aware that everything is communicating to our bodies all the time. Everything. And so the awareness that I had was, and this is a quote that I came up with. I couldn't even repeat it if I tried, but thank God I wrote it down. And basically, this is what the awareness that I had is that true wealth is not about having it, but it's the contribution of the elegance of how every molecule contributes to you and your body. And being able to receive that creates the space to invite others to more. And so one of the main reasons why, I became an access consciousness facilitator, at first it was sort of to kind of get me through my grieving and my drama and trauma and all that. But about 3 years of doing access consciousness, I realized that this work is way more than just getting you through your problems, but there's actually palpable magic that's beyond anything that you could actually explain in words. And when I mean magic, I'm not talking about hocus pocus, but I'm talking about an energy that's available to every single one of us that's on this call right now. It's this level of potency and power and joy, orgasm, sexualness that actually contributes to all living things. Okay? And like I said, even the chair that you're sitting on, right? So as I'm driving in this Ferrari, I'm watching how this contributes to him. and how it was actually facilitating him. And then it actually ultimately facilitated me. And I'm like, oh my God. And since then, I've even become a snob, like, as to like what kind of glasses I'll drink wine from, or like what kind of cups I'll drink coffee out of. It's like, I can't stand drinking coffee out of a paper cup anymore. It's disgusting. But why? Because like, even when I put my lips on the paper cup, it doesn't feel natural to me. But like when you put your lips on a nice coffee glass, it creates something in my body, and I become very aware of what it's instilling in my body and in my universe. And it's like, oh my God. And, and I've had the benefit or the luxury to go to Dane and Gary's house, and it's like a museum. They like to buy a lot of different antiques, and it's like all the furniture is speaking to you. It's like pulsating, just like the trees in nature speak to you, just like the rivers and the streams and the ocean and the animals in the sea and cats and dogs and you name it. It's like the furniture was speaking to you. So I was like, oh my God, now I'm starting to understand why having these things, what it actually creates for you. Now, we all have our different things that we enjoy, but what I like to invite you to is to actually increase the things that you surround yourself with even more. Like, surround yourself with things that will contribute to you in such a way that you feel like you're being facilitated by magic all day long. I just went out and bought a Japanese maple tree. I just bought a whole bunch of trees and plants to plant in my garden. And I know for some of you, this might be basic and fundamental, but it was like, I would try to save money on my underwear. I don't do that anymore. I would try to save money on my socks. Don't get me wrong, I bought sexy underwear, okay? But they weren't always super comfortable, okay? I travel and sit on planes for a really long time, right? So you're sitting down a lot. And you don't want that fabric like rubbing against certain areas, because by the time you get to your destination, it's like, ow, right? So it's important for these things to feel good on my body. So it's amazing. It's like overnight, I've kind of become a snob. It's really funny. So anyway, so I started to understand when Gary talks about the elegance of things. And so I wanted to do a little bit of research, because what I started to discover is that with the body processes that we receive in Access Consciousness and the level of kindness and caring and nurturing that these energetic processes are to your body, what it ultimately does is, in addition to helping you get through your drama and trauma and your abuse and your pain, but what it does is it helps you to become vibrationally compatible with all things, the earth, okay? It helps you to become aware of how everything, every molecule is speaking to you, literally speaking to you, if you're willing to listen. But there's so much unconsciousness and anti-consciousness in this reality, and most of us have suppressed and oppressed our awareness for so long that we actually begin to suffer our awareness instead of embracing it and using it to our advantage. So what's beautiful about these tools and Access Consciousness is they actually get you to start to see and utilize your unique capacities that are specific to you and no one else. But at the same time, allowing everything that you surround yourself with, including the things that you wear, including your furniture, including the glasses that you drink out of, to contribute to you in a way so that you can continue to contribute to those people around you, whoever they are, whether they're your children, your family, people you may be facilitating, or just the people at your job, whatever it is that you do. And so I got over my point of view that it's silly to have an expensive car that costs more than a house. I got over that point of view. Why? Not because of having it, not because of ego or pride or anything like that, was because I saw how it contributed to his body and his being, And what that actually does is it creates this space for him to actually deliver an energy for his classes to help you to discover the greatness within yourselves. And not only that, now it's one thing to discover the greatness within yourselves, it's another thing to actually be the greatness in the world once you discover that, okay? And then as these things are contributing to you, it's like you start to get infused with this level of empowerment and knowing and being that no matter who judges you, no matter who tries to condemn you and beat you down, it has no effect anymore because you're being fed by everything. You're becoming acutely aware of how the universe has your back. And it's always had your back. It's never not had your back. And I never believed that until just recently. Okay, I always felt like the universe was against me. It always seemed like every time I would get like one knee on the ground or one knee up, something would come along and just kick me right in the nuts and knock me back down. And I spent probably 47 years of my life feeling that way. Like I was always going against the grain. I was always going up the mountain instead of down the mountain, you know? And not only was I going up the mountain, I was pushing a big rock up the mountain too. And so it's like, after using these tools and becoming aware of all these different energies and how everything wants to contribute to you if you allow it so, it's like by having all these different things, by having elegance, by being hedonistic, by enjoying the aesthetic of things, okay? And by having decadence in your life, these things contribute to the essence of your being. Okay? So I went into the reference materials and I'm like, let me type in some words to sort of match the energy of what I became aware of when I went for a ride in a Ferrari. So let's talk about these 4 words here: elegance, aesthetics, decadence, and hedonism. Okay? So elegance, aesthetics, decadence, and hedonism are the source of having a generative life and a phenomenal life. Now, I don't know about you. I went to church. Being hedonistic is a bad thing. It's very bad, right? But like when I read that one sentence, my whole body lit up. My nipples got hard. I don't know if you could see my nipples, but it's like my nipples got hard. I get excited, right? But you know, it's like, how many people get excited in church? And if you do get excited in church, you're made really, really wrong because it's bad to get excited in church. But how do you not get excited in church when women come in with their boobs hanging out? It's like, oh my God, but I'm supposed to pray to God, but oh my God, she's got pretty boobs. Anyway, I digress. So you have to be willing to have these 4 elements to have the life that you would like to have. I never even knew this existed. I had to have that experience first, where literally a car facilitated me. But it facilitated an energy. It wasn't an intellectual thing. It was like, and I don't think I would ever buy a Ferrari, but I might buy a Rolls Royce someday. You know what I mean? No, that's a pretty cool car. That's just sort of like my thing, right? So, but you have to be willing to have these 4 elements to have the life that you would like to have, whatever that is for you. So what I'd like to invite you to is start tapping into the energy of a life that you would like to have. Don't do it by pictures. Don't do it by a particular vision. What I'm inviting you to is an energy, and allow that energy to fill you up everywhere, from the tip of your toes all the way up to through the top of your head, everywhere. Feel it go up and down your spine, over your ass, over your breasts. If there are men on the phone, through your penis and your testicles, your anus, everywhere. Don't leave any stone unturned, okay? Allow the energy to be everywhere, but not just your physical body, but even your energy bodies too, okay? I'm being a little bit silly, but I actually mean what I'm saying. All right, so to have a creative life, you have to destroy something in order to create it. Usually, the one thing you are willing to destroy is you. Stop doing that. In order to have a general life, you must use elegance, aesthetics, decadence, and hedonism. You have a choice of the creation of life, which is matter, energy, space, and time. Or you can generate your life, which is energy, space, and consciousness. That's why we say when you desire certain things to show up in your life, you always want to ask, what energy, space, and consciousness can me and my body be for such and such to show up, whatever that is. It's not about matter and time. The universe will take care of the matter. The universe will take care of the time. Those two things are not your job. If you generate your life, you will also create your life. You don't do one or the other. Oneness in consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. Okay? Oneness in consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. I did a call this afternoon or this morning about with Shannon O'Hara, embody or not to embody. And embodiment is not just about having a body. Embodiment is about receiving this reality without a point of view. Because if you're willing to receive this reality with no judgment, then you never cut off your awareness to anything. And when you never cut your awareness off to anything, that means you can receive everything and create the life that you would like to create with total ease. It's only when we cut off ourselves, our awareness, from receiving certain parts of this reality where we actually cut off our receiving. We cut off our receiving more money. We cut off our receiving yummy, juicier sex and people who will be kind and nurturing to our bodies. Okay? So embodiment is about not only enjoying your body, but it's also about receiving this reality so that what you ultimately have available to you is creating a different reality beyond this reality. You become the source of possibilities, not the source of limitation. Okay? So it's not about the rightness or the wrongness of anything here. It's about the awareness that when you're doing judgment, you're actually doing limitation. So you want to be able to create, you want to be able to generate, you basically want to be able to do it all. So the elements of generation are elegance, aesthetics, decadence, and hedonism. Okay? So what does elegance mean? Elegance is the willingness to use the least amount of energy to generate the maximum effect in your life. This is how you could actually change others by the amount of energy you use. What if someone came to see you for a problem, let's say? What if you didn't have to say one thing to them? What if just by them being in your presence, you've changed their whole reality? Because you were willing to be an energy. You were willing to receive everything without judgment and a point of view. And you were willing to be energy, space, and consciousness for them. And just by simply being in your presence, their whole reality changed. I spent my whole life as a holistic chiropractor trying to fix people. That's exhausting. Trying to give them the right advice, telling them the right foods to eat, the right drinks to drink, how much exercise they should do. It's like blah, 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 blah. So boring and exhausting. But being energy, space, and consciousness, it's like going for a ride in a Ferrari, baby. It's like going for a ride in a Ferrari, but it's your life. Yeah. How does it get better than that? All right, so aesthetics is the willingness to see the beauty of the moment and the change that you can create or generate. Now, sometimes you can create a change, and sometimes you have to create a change, but sometimes you have to be willing to look at the beauty of something without changing anything. It's also being an allowance of the things that, like when you ask a question like, what is this? What do I do with it? Can I change it? If so, how? And if you get that you can't change it, at least in a particular 10 seconds, it's the willingness to have the allowance of, okay, this can't be changed right now. Cool. And not having a judgment or a point of view about it. It's being an allowance. That's aesthetics, and seeing the beauty in everything. That's also where we ask the question, especially if you're in a shitty situation where you say, what's right about this I'm not getting? Right? But what do we do as humanoids? We judge ourselves for getting it wrong, right? Or we judge ourselves for it not working out the way that we projected that it should. Instead of just having fun and being the energy, space, and consciousness and having the willingness to go for the ride. Decadence. Decadence is the willingness to receive everything and hold on to nothing. It is the ability to waste. If you're willing to waste anything or anyone, no one will harm you. If you're willing to waste anything or anyone, no one will own you. Hedonism.
Sorry, excuse me. Can you just talk a little bit more about decadence and both things you just said? I don't know, there is something huge in that one, please.
Yeah. Well, it's like how many of us hold on to, let's say, certain relationships with the hope that that other person's going to change eventually, that that other person's going to see the things that you're choosing are, let's say, creating more for the greater good of humanity. And so eventually they'll finally catch up and change. Okay? It's the willingness to be able to walk away from a relationship and say, you know what? This isn't working for me anymore. But so many of us have this point of view that, oh, I'll never find someone else. So we hold on to things. We even hold on to things that aren't working. Or let's say someone who's in a career and they went to university and well, at least in the United States, we pay a lot of money to go to university, a lot of money, right? So I don't practice chiropractic anymore, but I spent over $100,000 US to become a chiropractor. But the energy of what I'm doing with Access Consciousness, I had to be willing to walk away from my profession to pursue an energy that was so much greater and matched my burning desires that I've had since the day that I chose to embody on this earth.
So can you clarify also a little bit this thing about, being willing to walk away and not hold on to anything? And also these things that we can hear, like never give up, never give in, never quit.
Yeah.
There is something like...
Yeah, well, okay. So again, you have to basically come to a point in your life where you say, is this working anymore? Is this working for me? It's like, look, I've stayed, as a chiropractor, my God, I probably stayed in it. Even Dane made fun of me. He's like, I thought that once we started asking you to do sessions around the world, I thought you were going to close your practice. I didn't close my practice until about 3 years later because I was holding on to it for dear life. And basically what I essentially did was I killed my practice. I killed it so bad that literally there was like 1 to 5 people coming in for the whole week. So I'm like, okay, I left this practice 3 years ago, but I didn't officially leave it, right? So was that quitting, or was that just me making a different choice for my life? So you have to look at like what's working in your life and what's not working in your life and be willing to walk away from it. And it's like, it's same thing with like clothes. If you haven't worn something in over a year, maybe it's time to give it away. Clean out your closet, create space. Gary talks about creating space and what that actually generates and creates for your very being, right? So what if we did that with people? What if we did that with our careers and jobs? But we have this point of view that because this is what I studied, this is what I invested my money in, that would be insane for me to no longer do it anymore. That would be a waste of my money. And I don't have that point of view, because to me, staying would have felt like dying. Now, even though I closed the practice, and there were many months where I didn't even have any money coming in, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? I still knew that what I chose matched the energy of what I'd always desired my whole life. So that is something that you have to look at, like, okay, am I quitting? Am I giving up here? Or is it time to move on? And that's when you kind of ask that question is, if I stay, what will my life be like in 5 years? If I don't stay, what will my life be like in 5 years? And you start to look at the energy of that. And it's not, I see, because quitting, there's an energy of wrongness there. What if it was just a choice? Now, a lot of times people will quit. Let's say they'll quit using the tools of access because things are getting too intense, or they're becoming even more aware. So a lot of people want to quit, right, and walk away, because sometimes looking at aspects of yourself that aren't so pleasurable can make you feel really ugly sometimes, right? But remember, consciousness includes everything and judges nothing. And it's in those moments when Gary says, and Dane says, it's what's on the other side of like that feeling of wanting to give up. It's what's on the other side of that where you begin to actually have more of you. So again, there's like a fine line between giving up and then keep going, because what's on the other side of that is everything you've been asking for, versus is your job become a dead branch? And if so, is it ruining the entire bush, or is it ruining the entire tree? And is it time to cut that dead branch off? Do you get what I'm saying? So you have to be in the question. So there's a fine line, and that's a very good question that you asked.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So then we have hedonism. Hedonism is the willingness to experience the orgasmic quality of the joy and fun of living. I'm going to repeat that. Hedonism is the willingness to experience the orgasmic quality of the joy and fun of living. It is constant pleasure seeking. Uh-oh, who's ever taught that? Who's ever taught that? I certainly wasn't. You know, you hear, okay, you've had enough fun now, it's time to get back to work. Constant pleasure seeking every moment of every day. Even when you're putting on your underwear in the morning. Even the soaps that you use to wash your body. The lotions that you use. The people you choose to copulate with. Are they kind and nurturing to your body? The foods that you put into your body, or how much food you put into your body, is it kind and nurturing? I binge eat a lot, and then I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? Right? So I have to always be in the question, who am I eating for? Because it's not kind and nurturing to my body to overeat. It's not fun. Okay? When you're willing to live your life from a hedonistic pleasure place, your life begins to work in ways it has never before, because you are willing, for the joy of it, you are willing for the joy of it, not for what you have to accomplish or get done or what you have to do, but for the purpose of it. So people have to find hedonism and decadence as bad things instead of recognizing that if you use these things correctly, it'll contribute to you living a generative and creative life. These things that we surround ourselves with, the aesthetics, the hedonism, the elegance, and the decadence contributes to you being more potent. Now, not everybody functions that way. Some people just do it for their ego, to prove what they have. What I'm talking about is how these things contribute to your very being, and they give you the energy to go on and to deliver an energy that's beyond anything you see in this reality. And these things, you have to find what they are for you. And it's different for all of us. And acknowledging it, because after a while, you'll be like, wow, I am a snob. And trust me, many, many years ago, I took pride in being a broke chiropractor healer, right? It's like, yeah, I'm a great healer because I'm poor. And this guy making all the money, he's not even a real healer, but he's convinced people to go to him. But I can get better results, but I could barely feed my kids. Doesn't make sense. And we judge having money. A lot of people do, maybe not you, but a lot of people judge having so much money that somehow means you're in it for the wrong reasons. What if the money was there to create a greater future? What if the money was there to be there for you in a benevolent way? So that is what I wanted to share with you guys, because this, and what created the space for me to get there, to have this awareness, because I could have just went for a ride in this car and be like, oh, thanks for the ride, really cool car. But it actually facilitated the essence of my being. And I was like, oh my God. And I like cried. And I'm like, thank you. Can I share with you what just showed up for me? And he's like, absolutely. And I did. And he goes, that's exactly why I have these things. And I'm like, now I get it. I'm like, now I understand, you know? And obviously, if, you know, don't go out and buy a Ferrari and put it on a credit card if you don't have the money. Now that would be stupid, right? That wouldn't create ease and joy and glory, right? But you do what you can, you get what you can, right? And you create what you can, and allow all these things to contribute to you in the ways that they're desiring to contribute to you. It's amazing. I'll walk into a shoe store and I start going like this, and I'll just go, whoop. And then I'm like, that shoe right there. And then the shoe salesman will be like, no, that's not the most popular one. The most popular one is this over here. So I'm like, oh, okay. So I didn't trust my knowing. I figured he's a shoe guy. He knows more than me, right? Nobody knows more than you. Even people with PhDs. Nobody knows more than your awareness. That's intellectual information. But my knowing said, no, not what he recommends, what my body called and screamed for, because that shoe was literally screaming at me. And the minute I put on the shoe I was aware of, my body lit up. It was unbelievable. I even made a silly video. It was like hiking shoes, and I put them on and I like sprinted because I was so happy in them, you know? They're not meant for sprinting, they're meant for going up a mountain, but I was so happy because I was like, yes, you know? And thank God. Now, 5 years ago, I would have bought the shoes that the shoe salesman said to get, because they're the most popular. And don't we do that with lovers too? We'll choose, like, let's say, the one who might be the most attractive instead of the one who might be the most kind and nurturing to our bodies. But at least they're attractive, and everybody else will think I have something because I'm with someone who's beautiful. or I'm with someone who has lots of money. Instead of just being with someone because they're a contribution to you, and that's what everybody sees. People see how being with that particular person contributes to your life. Or whatever it is, the clothes that you wear, the glasses that you wear, the necklaces, the jewelry, everything. So I will open it up to a few questions. I hope you got something out of it. Does anybody else have any questions? Or any questions?
So if no one has question on French, I can go on with like a dozen of billions of questions about this topic. So I had something very interesting this afternoon while the call was coming up, and I was also talking with a few participants, and I had these things coming up with elegance, with an energy or something about sex, and I was totally confused. I was like, what does it have to do like with sex and even like this energy of copulation? And I was like, wait, what is that? And can you share a little bit also something around elegance and sex, and also what it has to do also with copulation and touch? I get there is something when I heard you talking about hedonism and seeking pleasure in everything, it kind of speaks to me also. I was like, maybe there is something about that too.
Yeah.
Maybe, do you have maybe something about that too, like something specific on sex and copulation and touch?
Well, yeah, I mean, like what's specific with copulation, it's like, are you choosing people that are kind and nurturing to your body and expand your universe when you're copulating with them? Forget about relationship. Let's just talk about play. Do you choose playmates that are kind, caring, and nurturing to your body? Do you feel more alive after you're with them, or do you feel like you just had the most grueling workout?
I would say not all the time. It can happen, but not all the time,
Yeah.
definitely.
So it always goes back to being in the question of, if you're considering copulating with someone, if you truly want to do it from a hedonistic place, you have to ask questions. And the questions that we ask are, as you know, is, will it be easy? Will it be fun? Will I learn something? That's usually always a yes, right? Will they be grateful afterwards? Will I be grateful afterwards? And then I kind of add a couple other things like, will their body be a contribution to my body? And will my body be a contribution to their body? And if I don't get a yes on all of them, I don't go there. Now, I didn't always function that way. If someone fit my judgment of what I thought was attractive, I'd go there and I wouldn't ask any questions. And as I became more aware, as I started using the tools of access consciousness more and more and more and more, my encounters were not so much fun anymore. They weren't fun. And I realized that a lot of people I was with, I was wanting to heal them. Where was I in that equation? Nowhere. It was about them. And then I started to realize, like, the more that I would choose, and the more power and potent. Then women who never used to be attracted to me all of a sudden became attracted to me. And then I talked to Gary about it. He's like, that's because they want your power. And I go, you mean they don't want to be with me because I'm handsome and they know I'm going to be a good lover and I'm kind? And he's like, no, they just want your power. And I was very, 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 very unconscious in that area. So for me, it's very, very, very important to always be in the question and ask, will my body be happier afterwards? And you have to be willing to be like present with the awareness that you receive, because you may get an awareness that you necessarily don't want to have. You may get a no, and you'll be like, but they're so good looking and it's been so long since I've gotten to play and I would just like to have an orgasm all over the place with someone who's beautiful, and then you go there and it was like horrible. So, again, in order to have the hedonism, you have to be in the question. And then you have to be willing to be present with what you're aware of and be willing to walk away. And also be willing to be surprised with when you get a yes, and that person may not fit your description of what you find attractive physically. Maybe they're too tall, maybe they're too fat, maybe they're too skinny, but you get a yes that they will be kind and nurturing to your body. And playing with them will contribute to you in the ways that you've been asking for. So it's amazing when you actually ask questions, the information that you get, and then you just choose. So I don't know if that helps, but it really goes back to just being in the question.
It does. Thank you. I mean, there is more space, like something that is lighter and lit up.
Cool.
Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. Did you have another question?
I have a lot of them. Maybe we can also ask to other people if they have.
Well, your questions may create questions in other people's universes, so I'm willing to answer a few more questions before we go.
Okay. It just went out.
One of the things too about hedonistic pleasures, I don't know how long some of you have been in Access Consciousness, and I know I've done some ASB sessions and some of you that are on the phone right now, and I know that after our session you experience energies running through your body that are very different than the energies that you may experience in your everyday life. And so, like juicy, yummy, orgasmic energies, right? And what if life can be like that every day? Not just from a session, not just from a class, but what if it could be like that every day? And that's when we come back to, do you wear the clothes that make you feel like the energy that you received in a session? Do you drink out of cups and glasses that make you like, because those things can contribute to you in that way too. And it's not about the facilitator. But what will happen over time when you receive the bars or when you take 3-day body classes is you'll start to become tuned into those things that will contribute to you in that way. And those body processes contribute to you in that way. There's many times where I receive a body process and a bars and I felt like I had amazing sex. And it was beautiful, it was kind and nurturing, and I was actually fulfilled sexually. Now, when I first started Access, it created a lot of confusion in my universe because I thought that meant, oh, I must copulate with this person. And so the copulation part is just about putting the body parts together. And that could be fun if you get that it's a yes after you ask those questions. But you can actually experience sexualness and orgasm in all sorts of ways. And that's what I'm talking about with these elements of generation, is feeling orgasmic all the time. Even when you put on your lipstick in the morning, do you do it in a way that makes you feel orgasmic? Okay, now I'm turning myself on now. The call's turning into something else. Okay, so anyway, what other questions do we have?
Please do turn more, all of that. So my question came back. It's about hedonism, where you were speaking about seeking pleasure in every part of your life. And just also now, when you talked about being orgasmic in everything that you do, something came up in my world about if I'm seeking pleasure in every part of my life, and for example, also in my creation and in my business, there is something like I won't be consistent anymore. I don't know if it makes any sense. Like,
okay, stop. What do you mean by consistent?
Like, still engage and do until the end the project or the creation of the thing.
You feel like you'll be distracted?
Distracted, or maybe sometimes I'm like, okay, maybe I do not have pleasure anymore with this, so let's like switch to something else. Or there is something weird. I get that this is twisted. I'm not sure what it is, but and not only about business creation, but sometimes with people or with things that you like, also objects or whatever, I have this concern, like if I'm seeking pleasure, will I not like say, I don't have pleasure anymore, bye-bye, and like
well, so like what if you had 20 different things going on in your life at the same time? And what if instead of having the point of view of, oh, I must complete task number 1 first before I start task number 2. So what if it was okay to maybe start one thing for a little while, and then when you have an awareness that something else requires your attention, then you shift and change and you move on to this over here. And when that energy changes, you move on and you shift and you move on to something over here. But we all have this point of view and this reality that if I start something, I must finish it until the end. Right? And what if actually every day you just simply asked, what requires my attention today? If you have 15 different businesses, okay, who requires my attention today? Okay. If you have 5 different lovers, who requires my attention today? But it's sort of like there's an element in the consistent. It was such a contractive energy in where it was like a lot of form and structure, a lot of linearity, a lot of concentricities, a lot of computation, right? And so what if you just get to choose where you get to put your attention on that day by simply asking? And what if it was okay to have 20 different projects going on? What if it was okay to have 5 or 10 different lovers around the world? You know what I mean? Well, I mean, if that's what you choose, right? Now, look, I'm the kind of, all I can say is my life has become greater and it's become more of a hedonistic lifestyle. And there's much more for me to choose as well. But I am also the type of person that when I start something, I finish it. That's never changed. So that may just be an interesting point of view. You have that point of view that if you are constantly pleasure seeking, that all of a sudden this other attribute of yours is going to go away. That's not necessarily true. That's just a point of view. And how much are you using that to keep you from having everything that you'd like to have? So everything that is times a godzillion, we destroy and uncreate it, please. Right and wrong, good and bad, pot and pock, all 9 shorts, boys, bands. We talk ourselves out of joy all the time. We make up reasons and excuses for why having a hedonistic lifestyle would be a bad thing. What if actually by allowing yourself to have that created inspiration and greater possibilities for you and everyone who watches you?
Thank you so much, because I kept making myself wrong for being attracted and curious and wanting so many different things in my life in every area as possible.
Yeah, and that's okay. And especially in the area of copulation too, you can go there energetically with someone and it's almost as if the body parts went together. And it's like, and since I've been able to do that, it's great because it keeps me out of trouble too. You know what I mean? But I'm able to receive. Again, this goes back to the joy of embodiment, being able to receive everything in this reality. I even do that with men now too. I'll receive gay men. Do I go there? No. but I do receive it energetically, and it's wonderful, and my whole body gets turned on, and it's great. But I don't have to like lay in bed with them. You know what I mean? So, and it's amazing how that creates and contributes to generating my life, because I'm willing to receive those energies. And that translates into how I facilitate others. It translates into how I do my ASB sessions to others, and it makes it stronger because I'm willing to receive all these energies. So what if you can have sex with everyone, receive everyone, without always having to copulate? It's not easy though, because it's fun copulating too. So it's just choice. What else? These are fabulous questions, by the way. Thank you. Anybody else have anything?
Nothing on the French chat.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you all got something out of it. Please listen to this a few times. It's a little bit sort of outside of this reality. I do hope that I get to see you in person someday. I think I'm coming to Bordeaux. I know I'm coming to Bordeaux, France in when? August. Yes. Coming in August, and I just can't wait to drink the yummy wine and facilitate these amazing tools that Gary and Dane created, because they really do contribute to having a greater life and contribute to you having more of you.
So just to add to that, Anthony is coming from the 10, 11, and 12 of August in Bordeaux, France, which is an amazing city. And really, like, if you like the energies he show you on this Zoom, just come and join us, and it will be a pleasure to welcome you there. And if you have any question, you can reach us. So me, Claire Planchon, Dominique Seignet, and Véronique Clément, and also Anthony's team, for sure. If you have any question about that, it will be a pleasure for us to answer to you.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you in person soon. Bye-bye.